The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 815. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and welcome to another edition of our Asian Women Who Boss Up book tour. I'm really excited to have this amazing lady on today. She is a cancer survivor, a global speaker, a coach, and an addiction recovery advocate. And I'm so excited to have her on today to share her wisdom and story. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Cathy Trinh. Cathy, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Yeah, Sheena, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this conversation that we're going to have. My name is Cathy Trinh, everyone. I'm based out here in Orange County, California, and I was born in Vietnam, October 21st, 1977. When I was a little girl, our little family escaped from Vietnam on a small fishing boat and lost at sea for 7 days. And by the grace of God, we were rescued in the middle of the ocean and found refuge in an Indonesian refugee camp for a year. And so we migrated into Orange County, California, and I've lived in Southern California for about 40 years now.
Wow, thanks for sharing that. And I didn't even know that actually happened to you. So it's great that you're here today sharing your story. And how does the model minority myth hurt Asian women as a whole?
Being a model, when I look at the word model minority myth, how it relates to me is I know personally, as being an Asian woman, it really has affected me in the workplace, definitely in the workplace, and above all, relationships with myself and relationships with other people. So what I do today, coming from where I came from, what I do is I'm a life coach. I speak at colleges, healthcare facilities, and in corporate environments. But before I became all this, I suffered from extreme low self-esteem, self-confidence. I didn't know my self-worth because part of my story, Sheena, is I'm a recovered alcoholic and drug addict. And I've also recovered from a hopeless state of mind. Coming from that and recovery, recovery advocacy, I've seen myself grow beyond measure. I am so grateful to have become the person that I am today because of all this stuff that I put myself through, and I hid this secret for a very long time. I wasn't as it affected myself in the workplace, I didn't speak up for myself. I had, again, low self-esteem. I didn't ask, for a raise and what I wanted. And so just sheerly the fear that people would find out that they wouldn't like me because of where I came from. So I feel like, it did affect me, but because I've been able to overcome my adversities, ultimately, I don't view my life that way anymore. And so it pushed me and it launched me into more self-growth and self-development. And again, just the lens of who I've become is different, I would say, from the traditional Asian woman.
Thanks for sharing that so much, Cathy. I think, this is something that a lot of women can relate to, right? Not feeling enough, not feeling like we're good enough to go out there and, speak our truth, speak our voice. And it's really important to, share these types of vulnerabilities because it makes us realize just because we came from here doesn't mean we have to stay at this state. We can change our situation like what you did at any given moment to be that confident woman that we are today. And, why do you think creating a stronger representation of Asian women is so important to you?
Thank you for asking that question. It's so important because, again, coming from a non-traditional Asian household, and the reason why I say it's non-traditional is because, and again, opposite of the model Asian woman, I'm the eldest of 3 girls in my family, and my father worked for the Metro City Bus, so he was around non-traditional Asian people. There was just a collection of individuals that he'd met throughout his whole entire life. He'd worked there for 35 years. And my mother worked for an international skateboard company when I was about 13 years old. And so for her to be working in an American environment surrounded with individuals that had tattoos and piercings and, just truly being accepting of that environment, us girls in the family, we started getting tattoos and piercings at such a young age. And unfortunately, that led us into the influences of drugs and alcohol and in environments that my parents didn't even know. You know, my parents, they really did their best to raise us right. And as a good example, I was so terrified for so long to let my parents know I was going down the wrong path. So I hid my problems for such a long time. And that caused emotional problems, that caused relational problems, that caused work problems. But I didn't know that those became problems. So the harder I worked to hide it, the more inauthentic that I became. And so I believe that being a former drug user, you know, I came from the shame, guilt, all the shameful things that you would do being an Asian woman. And so it's so important for me to let the audience know that you can recover at whatever age, whatever race, whatever gender you are, even if you're an Asian woman, and especially coming from immigrant household. You know, they didn't come here from Vietnam. We didn't almost die at sea so that my parents can see their child die on the streets being a homeless woman or a drug addict, you know, with drinking so much and all these influences. So I feel that it's so important for us to have representation as Asian women that we can also rise. We can rise and we can thrive and become successful members and business owners, entrepreneurs in society.
Thanks for sharing that. And it's so true, right? We hide a lot of things from our parents because we're afraid of shaming them or disappointing them. But we realize, like, no matter what happens, our parents love us unconditionally. And, you know, sometimes we just have to tell them, like, I'm not doing well. And when something bad happens, something good can come out of it, right? I mean, you know, you went through a dark path, but you were able to see the light and to be that representation that you are today. And so I'm really glad you're able to share this. And how does it feel being that representation for so many Asian women in the world?
I would say I'm very, very proud of myself. And I know this is probably not ever going to happen. I wish I could meet every single woman that's hurt in the world. And that's probably not going to happen. But if I can step up with just being a voice, if they can catch wind of this podcast, if they can see me on stage, if they can hear a TED Talk, if they can feel the passion of the road of recovery and the presence meaning the present moment that I have been able to capture in my life, the beauty of life, or the presence with the TS, which is the gifts of having a sober mind, body, and soul. That is just my biggest hope. And I have overcome a lot. And I just want to let young women in the professional world, women that homeschooling their kids, moms, I want everyone to know that we are strong and we are resilient, no matter what race or color or religious preference that we have. And so it just makes me so proud of myself to see myself on this road of recovery for the past 18 years, to continue to take that big shovel that my mentor gave me years and years ago. And she said, dig. I want you to dig as deep as you can, self-excavate, do self-excavation, deep dive. Take your inventory, take your morals down, write it down. And then I want you to stop blaming others, because when we blame others, we continue to hurt, because other people cannot give you back. And so ultimately, I took her direction. My mentor said, do this. I said, yes. She said, jump this. I said, how high? And I came back and I looked at my part in every single area of my life, whether it was the relationship, the love, the addictions, whatever it was, the codependency. And I dug so deep. And that is why I know that I understand the pathway to recovery today. And we can be on the road of recovery. You don't have to be sitting in a 12-step meeting. You don't have to be sitting in therapy. But as long as there's one more person, one more woman, Asian woman, or whatever, to be able to be the voice and say, you know what? I've been there too. I understand. So that is, I'm just so proud of myself. Thank you for asking that wonderful question.
No worries. And what you said is so important. It's so great. And I'm just glad you're here today sharing all this wisdom. And so, Cathy, share one reason as to why every Asian woman needs to read this book, Asian Women Who Boss Up.
Wow, I am just so honored to be part of a collaborated book project. And I am so honored and so proud because there are a lot of strong and empowering Asian women in this book. We have all, no matter how small or how big, we've all had bad days. And we have all overcome tragedies. And we built ultimately through the tragedies, we sought help, whether it's through a coaching program or a online course, reading someone's inspirational quote. We started building resilience and we got so strong. In life, it's not about the wealth. It truly is about mental health. And so wellness, it's mental, everything's mental. And so there are very successful businesswomen in the book as well. And I would highly encourage everyone to read each individual's chapter to just gain a little bit of, I've been there too. And ultimately what happens when you do that, you'll understand and it will evolve into saying, wow, I'm similar to this powerhouse and I'm the same like that lady. And so ultimately, when you have that new mindset, you can actually rise as well. And you will go out there and you will continue to pursue your dreams. So any woman that's listening to this podcast right now, just continue to write your goals down and pursue your dreams.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Cathy. And what can readers gain from reading your story in the book?
I would say that my life has been a series of mini traumas, and I've had a lot of bad days. My life is not beautiful. It's been messy. And I want to say that through the trials and error, and I became stronger. And I've been able to open my ears. I've had a beginner's mindset and always have a beginner's mind, learn from others, and just know that if I can do it, you can do it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And this is what this book is all about, right? Showing others what's possible, especially showing Asian women what's possible for themselves, because there's one woman in this book that they can relate to. They can say, I went through that as well. And if they're able to rise up, then I can do it too. So thanks for sharing that. And Cathy, can you share one boss up tip for our listeners today?
My boss up tip for you today is just start working on yourself. And it doesn't matter at what level you're at. One of the examples that I say is that life is kind of like a video game. Everybody's at a different level, and try not to essentially compare your insides to other people's outside. So the boss up tip is work on yourself at a deep level, figure out and find out what's still hurting you and that you're holding on to, heal from that, and then grow to become the best version of you. Yeah, that's my boss up tip.
Thanks for sharing that great boss up tip, Cathy. And if our listeners wanted to get a copy of the book or wanted to pre-order it, is there a link that you could share with us today?
You can pre-order the book or the physical copy on my website. It's www.cathytrinh.com.
Thanks for sharing that. And maybe you can also share where else they can connect with you if you have any social media links.
Absolutely. I'm on Instagram at Cathy Trinh, as well as Facebook, the official Cathy Trinh page.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Cathy, you can also head on over to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Cathy's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Cathy today for taking the time to share her wisdom and story with us on self-confidence. And I'm just really excited for this book to come out. So thank you so much, Cathy.
Thank you so much, Sheena. I appreciate you.
Not a problem. It's really great having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing Asian woman who boss up co-author who's also going to share her wisdom. So be on the lookout for that. And thanks again. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. You can order your copy of Asian Women Who Boss Up book by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.